Later on this morning, we will be having some writing to do, those of you who want to enter into it, and I urge you to do so. However, for now, for a while, to start, you can just set your notebooks aside, unless you want to make other notes. But we will have a very powerful project for you later on, which you can use for days and for weeks to do many things. However, I'll go into that a little later. First of all, just relax and remember the power of attention to start with. Try to listen to everything. Don't let your mind wander. I've looked out many, many times and seen that you are off there somewhere and you have missed something. Catch every word. Catch every thought and connect it, for heaven's sake, with your own life, with the way you're going to feel when you're driving home from these meetings. This meeting is to change the kind of a human being you are. It isn't a philosophical discussion. It isn't a religious talk. It isn't doing something because we have nothing better to do, but it's something because we're tired of being the kind of human beings we have been all our lives. And all the pretenses have worn thin, haven't they? They have indeed. So do pay attention to everything. And I'll try to alert you when something is of special importance for you to remember and to take with you when you go away from here. But first of all, I want to talk about a subject which the entire world is involved with, including everyone here, and that is the topic of fear, of being afraid. You are afraid, aren't you, of many things. Maybe even that is too mild a word. Maybe the word terrified. Now, can you get your business out of your mind and get your sex life and your money and see the kind of condition you're actually in, so that when you say, I say you're afraid, there's not a wall there and therefore you miss what you could have here? Now, we're going to see exactly why we are afraid. And we're going to find out how we can end all fear by understanding why it's there. And now, at this point on, you're going to have to pay a special attention, double attention, triple attention. Now, I'm going to tell you why you're afraid. Not of the physical fear of crossing a busy street. That's another thing which we're born with. But the rest of the fears we have been laid on us by society, by our parents, and it has become so much a part of us, that we have never questioned the possibility of breaking out of it. And the more my business prospers, or the more property I get, or the more books I read, or the more romances I have, the more I keep away from myself the fact that I am afraid. Now listen. We are afraid because we live in a world made of ideas. Without understanding what it means to live in a world of ideas. Don't judge it yet. Just listen. You live in a world of ideas not knowing that you do. Now, sensing the impermanence of ideas, we become afraid. You know very well that your thoughts come and go. They're not permanent. They may be fixed because I have gathered together a number of these ideas and said, this bundle of ideas is my life. This is me. And so I get all excited about what I'm going to do tomorrow, or even what I did yesterday. That is part of the idea I have about my life, about myself. So I think I've made myself secure by getting as many ideas, thoughts about myself as I can, and getting so many that in case one of them falls through, in case reality takes one of them away, I'll still have something to fall back on. Look, as long as you have anything to fall back on, you're afraid. That includes someone you claim to love, someone that you have to take care of, maybe your children, your ambitions, or maybe even your religious philosophy of what's going to happen to you after death, which is an idea, and it makes you afraid because you know that it's not a fact. If I have an idea of what's going to happen to me when I die, that is simply a resistance to what I know will happen, which is the end of the idea, the end of the security. See? I become afraid because I've made a dreadful mistake up here in my mind. But no one ever told me that I'd made this mistake, and I never could find it out for myself because my own mechanism fought day and night against seeing what you have just heard here now. I am afraid. Now listen to this. Just listen to it. I am afraid to let go of my fear. Because the fear itself is an idea. The idea that if I lose my wife, my husband, my money, my health, if I lose this, what will happen to me? It becomes very valuable to me to agitate, to be afraid. This is all a part of me. I am afraid. Why on earth don't we let the whole mess go so that we're not afraid at all? First, we lack the knowledge of what we have to do. And then we need something that is very, very difficult to get in this world, which is, call it assistance if you like, the assistance, the guidance, not just of me, I'm not talking about me, but of anyone else who wants to break out to, who wants to put an end to their own fear. It's very difficult to find people like that. If you ever find anyone who is very interested in these ideas, hang on to them and work with them. Do you understand that we exist to ourselves only by a description? Do you see that a description is an idea? When I have an idea, it requires protection. It requires defense, and it also requires offense. Because when I simply live in a world of ideas, for example, I have the true religion, always, in one way or another, either outwardly or inwardly, I will protect myself against anyone who attacks it and actually become hostile to them. Or I may go out and knock door to door to preach the gospel, as I call it, because this is part of my self-deception, to try to convince myself that I know what I'm talking about. And all the time I really sense that I don't, which is why I flare up when you attack my religion. quite essential to see how I, through lack of information, lack of interest, if you're not interested in this, just there's no choice then, is there? But to continue to be afraid while calling it other names, calling it courage even, or calling it having an ambition in life. What a wonderful thing it is when I have lost everything. Not cause it to happen. That would be an act of false will, false desire. But just to live so that when something happens, there's nothing in me, there's no idea in me that resists it, because there's nothing there to protect. There's no idea to protect. Now, do you see what freedom really is? First of all, it's an inner thing, is it not? A psychological thing. Not an indifference that says it's indifferent, because if you say that, then you're obviously trying to prove that you're indifferent. But it has nothing to say. What's there to say? But then you can't have all the comfort that you've been getting before. And you can't have all the lies which you have exchanged with other people. You can't do that anymore, can you? Do you have some idea of what it means to die to yourself then? To give up the idea that you need anything at all, psychologically. You need food, you need a roof. What do you need? Oh, you say, but I'm lonely. Don't you know that loneliness is a thought? You say, but I feel it. Of course you feel it, because you started it by saying, I must have a girlfriend, a boyfriend, a son to take care of, friends. Did it ever occur to you to try to live without depending on anyone for anything at all? Not in, please understand, not in false bravado, but just do it. Do you want your husband to pat you on the shoulder every other day, or every day for that matter, or vice versa? You are afraid. If you're not afraid, and then your husband or wife wants to pat you on the shoulder every hour, fine. But it's the idea that you need him or her to confirm your illusion of who you are. How can you confirm an illusion? You can only struggle and feel pain and shock and anxiety by trying to protect it or preserve it or protect it. Can you get to the point where there's nothing to say and nothing to do? All right, take your paper and pencil, if you will.
On this side, I wrote down this statement, question, can we live without ideas? Because I understand that you're talking about, on the everyday level, we need certain practical ideas.
Obviously.
But we should be able to go through life and not be hung up on psychological ideas that we have to have something, we have to have. Is that
Right. Look. Something happens to me in the exterior world. Or happens in my own mind, which scares me, upsets me, makes me angry, makes me hostile, okay? I am reacting to a mere idea from the world or from myself because I already have another idea about how I should be treated. There is an idea of how I should be treated by you and by you. Why do I have any idea of how you should treat me? Why? More than that, why do I have any idea as to how life as a whole should treat me? Why am I poor and you're rich? Why am I of this race and you're of another race? Why am I old and you're young? Why are you healthy and I haven't been healthy all my life? You had better rise up and wrath against this sort of thing.
Okay, let me ask you another one.
Go ahead, Glenn.
If I have a demand that people like me, okay?
Yeah.
That means I must have another idea, a fixed idea behind that. Like saying I'm being a very likable person.
Right.
Huh?
Right.
And they should like me. And when that idea is contradicted,
You blow up.
Right, okay. Fine.
Yes.
I have something I'd like you to clear up. And you said if you had to be patted every day on the shoulder, that would be like reassurance, right?
Yes.
If you had it in signs, then you don't have to be reassured.
Of course, this is what we're talking about. Listen, don't be afraid of this. If I don't know who I am, I'm free. If I have an idea of who I am, you should pat me on the shoulder and tell me what good work I'm doing. If I don't have any idea, I'm free of myself and free of you. Then you and I are not going to play stupid games with each other and depending on each other and therefore being suspicious and hostile of each other. Because when I'm depending on you to keep me in place, you had better not leave me or I'll blow up at you. I'll get angry at you. Right? Does this sound familiar to any of you? Huh?
You would be content then.
Pardon?
If you have it inside, if you don't need reassuring, you'd be kind of like content.
All right. Now, if you really do, yes. But let's not kid ourselves, huh? What has happened to each of you in the last, let's just make it the last 7 days? What kind of feelings have you had toward not just out there, but toward yourself? Don't you understand you can't have any ideas against yourself or for yourself? They're both the same. Hating yourself for being so stupid as to make all those mistakes 10 years ago? That's an idea, is it not? Does it exist? 10 years ago is 10 years ago. Now is now. But I want to hang on to that because remember I said that fear itself becomes valuable to us? I challenge you right now, and those of you listening to this tape, I challenge you right now, this very second as you're sitting here, I challenge you to drop all fears right now. All right, have you done it? No. But you get the idea that you can do it because you're only tied to the past fears and to future fears, which are the same thing, by ideas. And guess who gave you the ideas? We always come back to our conditioning, don't we? We got them from our parents, from society as a whole. They told us what we had to be, and we believed them because we didn't know any better. And now we're not believing it anymore. Aren't you glad? I will ask you first of all, do you like being afraid? And you will all say no. I will say yes, you love being afraid. I know you do, because without it you wouldn't be anybody. Without your fears, you wouldn't be anyone. But this is where we're going. This is where this is taking us. Do you understand? Do you know how far you have to go in this? Do you see why this isn't just a philosophic discussion group? We're here to do something drastic, powerful, that'll shake you up. You don't know what it means to be shaken up internally, except by outside accidental agencies. When you begin to deliberately and voluntarily shake yourself up, you will change. And then you won't be afraid. It's easy just to sit back and let the world shake you up. Your husband doesn't treat you right, or the government or society doesn't treat you right, and they shake you up. That's easy. Go ahead and be shaken up. Why don't you shake yourself up so that there's profit in it to the point where you're unshakable? Content, you want to use that word? Fine. Then you can go out and live in the world any way you want. But you won't want to do it in any way that's destructive to you anymore. You won't waste yourself. You won't waste your energies with people who are wasting your energies. There will be no more exchanges of that kind. Do you want to discuss this anymore, or should we go on? Any more comments?
We can discuss it a little more. I like that phrase, you haven't shaken yourself enough.
Right. Not voluntarily.
Not voluntarily.
Do you know what voluntarily shaking yourself up means? I'll tell you what it means. You think it means getting a blow from a relative or losing your money. Let me tell you what it means to shake yourself up. It means when you're sitting around the living room, maybe by yourself, or with someone else, or you're driving your car, or you're at work, and all of a sudden, an idea comes to your mind that embarrasses you, makes you afraid, that shakes you up in any way at all, and you take that in a different way than you've ever taken it before, taking it consciously instead of mechanically. Now you're being shaken up, but you're using it. You're getting smart at last. You're using it for your benefit. And when you do that, if you do it properly, which is a long, hard work, it can never shake you again with that intensity. If it was 100% shakeability, the next time it'll be 99.5. Then the next time 99. And you will see the miracle of the ages. And it wasn't seeing someone walk on water, but it was someone changing internally so that you know that you are getting rid of hatred and violence in fact and not in imagination. And as you get in real love, you cease to talk about it. Because we use the substitute word for the experience, right, when we don't have it.
When you say an idea comes, you get it consciously, do you mean by that, I'm not quite clear on
Oh, it's very simple. Very simple. Don't complicate it. So simple. You see the idea. I'm talking with this man here. I'm talking with him. He says something that I don't like. Anything. Something I don't like. I, instead of burning and glaring at him and pushing my lips up so that he won't see how scared I am and angry, I take it internally in a different way, which means I see the idea, many ideas, there's 1,000, but work on one, that's enough. I see the idea that I have a right to blow up at him because of what he said to me. Now, I see the idea, right? The thought that I have a right to behave that way for what he said to me. But I'm getting smart. After 30, 40, 60 years, I'm getting smart. I was stupid thinking I was smart before, huh? I'm not smart yet. It takes too long to undo all the damage, but I'm getting smart. So I catch myself ready, not suppression, but seeing the idea. Then, when I connect with this with something else we've talked about, which is namely dropping thought when it arises, which is the natural way thought goes, when I see the temptation, you want to use that word? The temptation to flare up, which I'm suppressing, I lie. I never tell anybody how I feel. I've been lying all my life. It isn't that easy to break. I catch it. The minute I drop that thought because I see the destruction in it, the self-defeat in it, I drop it, and that is the beginning of conscious work on myself. Conscious work means to see how I reacted to him. And that's all it means. Don't complicate it. When I see it and I see that I don't have to be, look, I don't have to be an angry person. I thought I had to be, because this was me. I've got a terrible temper, but I'm somebody. Or I'm scared. Every time I tell you I am scared, I am bragging. I'm bragging because I'm telling you that I exist, and I don't exist at all. Now get that. You don't exist at all in the wrong way. Certainly we exist, we're here. I get so terrified at the thought that I'm not this kind of a person that I've built myself up to be, either good, bad. I can even take pleasure in being evil, can't I? Huh? You ever known people who brag about how evil they are? Subtly? How they hurt someone? Well, I got him. If you see the impulse, the idea to react as I have always reacted, and die to it, that is taking it consciously. And that is putting an end to it. And then the next time you'll fail because you're still asleep. But maybe 3 times later you'll do it again. You'll weaken it. Each time you'll weaken it a little more. You know what this is? I'll tell you what this is. And those of you listening to this tape, you listen to what this is. It's the first beginning of sanity you and I have ever had in our lives. I mean the word sanity just as you normally understand it. Someone who is in control of himself, who doesn't have secret hatreds and secret violence in him. This is the beginning of sanity. This is the beginning, if I can use the phrase, the beginning of real spirituality. You see what a shock this is to our system? Will you take the shock? This is the question I'm asking you. Will you take the shock that's required to see that you do have all these suppressed things inside of you? If you do, then you can be helped. If you don't, you can't be helped. You'll just have to live. And like most people, you'll die never knowing what the truth actually was, all the time thinking that you did. Very simple, really. Watch where the person jumps when you touch him, where he's hiding something. Very simple, isn't it? Watch him jump. That means I'm hiding something. If I jump, I'm hiding something. You jump, you're hiding something. And what you're hiding is the fact that you're a part of the cosmic whole instead of an independent ego who can operate and change this world in any way at all. Wouldn't you like to be out of it entirely instead of fighting? We said a couple weeks ago in Boulder City, go ahead, fight all you want. This truth that you're hearing, it's not mine. I don't know. It doesn't belong to anyone. It belongs to all of us. You can fight it. You can resist it. You can be sarcastic toward the speaker, toward anyone else who tries to tell you these things. You can say you already have your own books and your own religion, and you fight in vain. You'll just have to suffer. You'll just have to go back. You'll just have to go back, and when you've made your big dramatic scene in front of everyone about how you already know the truth, And incidentally, everyone in the room who's watching you say that knew it but you, because you've never seen yourself in operation. But after you've made your dramatic scene, then you'll have to go home and cry. And you'll even enjoy the cry, unfortunately. You can't enjoy that sort of thing anymore. You can't feel sorry for yourself anymore. Yes. Go ahead.
Yesterday, you jump, you're hiding something. When you say something to a person, you tell me something. Okay, if you, for one reason or the other, embarrass me by a remark right here, this moment right here, I feel embarrassed, ashamed, or you bawl me out for something else. I respond with anger. It means that I must have some ideas of being a very intelligent person, or something like that. Is that correct?
Correct. You have an image, you have an idea. If you didn't have the idea, how could you be touched? But we're quite sure that we don't have any ideas about who we are. We think we are who we imagine we are because of what we call identification. And you've read about that many times, I'm sure. And it's a very tricky thing. Some you can see more obviously than others. A person who has a high honors in the world, for example, is identified with his fame. He thinks that he is that famous person. That's simply an idea that he has, perhaps, and perhaps a million, billion other people have, that he is different, that he is special. God doesn't know that at all, because God is the whole and the idea is the part. See, thinking is a part of life, but thinking is not the whole, is it? So I've taken this part called idea, called thought, and taken it as the whole. Yes, indeed, I am the mathematical genius, or I am the famous person and famous actor or actress, or whatever it may. I am famous. Why do people go home and commit suicide when they're rich and famous? Because there's something in every one of us that sees through the hoax. We're working on this hoax consciously to see through it, to end its tyranny over us. Yes?
In the past, the meaning of what you're talking about, drop it, has not been clear to me. It's only been in the last day that I've begun to feel something, touching something real there. Responding to Kathy's question, to take something consciously means simply to be aware, to see what is going on, to see the fact that if I am insulted, there is something in me which is being touched, which is false, which therefore is not me.
Correct.
I do not identify with that thing. There is a distance between me and the idea, and the process of dropping it is simply permitting it to go on, to pass away. I don't cling to it. The dropping it does not mean that I suppress it or push it away.
To the contrary.
It means that I see it very
Yes.
clearly, it is there, and it's passing along.
See, do you understand? Good, very good. You see, when I see it, when I see the idea that I have been insulted by you, what is it? Obviously it's an event on the human level. You said something to me, but I react to it in a certain way, and it falls on an idea I have, and that is what arouses my violence, because you're challenging my opinion of myself that what? That I'm a nice guy, that I'm brilliant, that I'm capable, or whatever picture I have. So you challenge it. I get afraid, don't I? Don't I get afraid? Didn't we say that ideas keep us afraid? You experiment, starting right now, maybe some of you have already started, in not knowing who you are. Then you will know who you are, but you're not thinking about it, because it's not on the level of thought. Instead of thinking, which involves defense and offense, you know. But it's one thing. It's not me thinking I am great and then calling you great so that you'll do the same with me, which is flattery, huh? You know, we keep each other in chains, don't we? Then I know because I am one with it. And I therefore don't have to think anything at all about it. It's only when I think about who I am that I'm in trouble, right? The way life has treated me, how badly life has treated me. I'm egotistical when I say that. I'm suffering, and I love the suffering. Go ahead.
The meaning of thought or idea, as we are using it here, is that there's a whole pool of ideas or images out there, the whole stream of things going on, the opposites that we're talking about in life, good, bad, rich, dumb, intelligent, anything you name it. What happens, the thought that we're trying to die to has nothing to do with the thought, Dick, about how am I going to sell more root beer. It has to do with the appropriation, the taking to me of one of these pairs of opposites, of some image, of something that defines me, and therefore puts me at a distance to the world. Because the world contains both pairs of the opposites. The world contains the whole ramification, the whole gamut. The whole thing is going on continuously. And as soon as I've appropriated something to myself, I have to be in violence to the world, because the world is going to go on. And as soon as it contradicts what I have called myself, this idea, then I have to fight it unless I choose to give it up. And that's what we're talking about here, is giving it up. And then I'm the all, and then that's it.
Going through the fear of giving it up, which will bring it up, won't it?
Yeah.
You'll want to run away. You'll want to scream. What did I say about 10 minutes ago? You have no idea of what it means to go through your own violence. This is what we're trying to do. Look, we're violent anyway, and afraid anyway. Why don't we use it intelligently instead of being stupid toward it? It's bad enough to be afraid, but to just let it lay there without using it. See, we're being smart. We're using it. We're using the devil to end the devil. Those of you listening to this tape, you should have paper and pencil handy now, as do those who are in this room. And you have the advantage of being able to play this tape over and over in order to get anything you might miss. All right. I want you to write just one sentence at the top, and then you can set your pencils aside for a moment anyway. Right at the top of your page, please. Checklist for self-teaching. Checklist for self-teaching. And you will be numbering the items which you'll be putting down here later on. So leave room at the left for putting your numbers and short sentences afterward. One of our illusions when we get into this kind of a work where we're really interested in changing ourselves is the illusion that we know more than we actually do. And we hinted at that earlier in the meeting, in that we use words which are so easy to say as a substitute for having the state itself. The word like love, or the word like kindness, the word like pleasantness, gentleness, and so on. So this project, which is very valuable to you and you should work on over the days, weeks, months, years even, will be very valuable in making us think without illusion, which means thinking without attributing qualities to ourselves, virtues to ourselves that we don't really possess. Now this project will do more than that. It will simply help us to think correctly. And that's the first step. If I can't even think logically about my everyday life, how can I begin to think logically toward other things? I have to begin somewhere. And this project, which you'll be going into, and we're going to take a good deal of detail on it, in fact, the rest of the meeting with it, will help us to think clearly, right down the line, without being distracted by false thoughts, by desires, by imaginations about ourselves. We're going to learn to think properly. Then we'll know when to drop thought and when we should use thought in everyday affairs. as was mentioned earlier. All right? Let me illustrate what we're going to do. In fact, I'll get two illustrations, both saying the same thing practically. When a moving picture company decides to make a movie, and the producers, the writers, and the people in charge of it in general are experienced and wise and they know their business, in other words, they will have either written down or in their minds, I imagine they could do it in their minds, they've been doing it long enough, they will have a checklist in their mind about how this movie should be made, what it should contain. All right? Example. Does the movie have enough action? People want action. They want things to move. Does it have interesting characters in it? Does it have a good storyline, a good plot? Does it have an interesting background that would make people look and want to come and see the movie? Does it have all the essential ingredients to make a good movie? Simple, right? And they will check back against this list when making the movie, if they're wise, that is. And if they see a weakness there while they're making it, they will add that to the script in order to make it a more interesting movie. In other words, they have a checklist for making a profitable movie, and it could be quite a long one, things that you and I who know nothing about the business might have. Does it have, for example, small moments of suspense as well as large ones? The door opens and you don't know who's there, and that's a quick suspense and it goes away. They know all those things. So they have a checklist to refer back to in order to make a good movie. Now, those of you in business have done this very thing as the second illustration, either in your mind or maybe even wrote it down. In fact, there are books on this in business. You're going to open a hamburger stand down on the corner. There are a number of things you have to check back against. It just can't be enough that you want to open that stand and be the manager of it and make a lot of money. You have to think logically toward it, don't you? You might sit in your car across the street for half a day and count the number of people who walk by that corner where you propose to put your stand, right? Because they know by the law of averages that, what? 1 out of every 10 person seeing the signs and the ice cream or whatever it is will stop in there and buy something. They have their own checklist. Is there competition too close and so on? So this is something to refer back to make it proper on the everyday level. All right. What you're going to do is tremendously interesting and valuable. Now, what more do you want than that? Both interesting and valuable. You're going to build, each one of you, going to build your own individual checklist, which I'll give you examples of in a little bit, of your daily behavior, so that both during that day and at the end of that day, you can check back and see where you made a mistake, where you were asleep, where you could have done better. And if you use it, this will serve as a memory for you in written form until the time comes when it'll be up in your mind, and instead of checking back at the end of the day, you will check before the event happens, and you will handle it without conflict. See? Now, I'm going to give you examples in a minute. But what you're going to do this afternoon, tomorrow, for the next several weeks, months, build your own checklist up to 100 minimum, for heaven's sake. A minimum of 100 of them, and maybe more, as many as you want. This will also teach you to think concisely, because these should be written in single sentences, one and a single sentence after it. Very short. Concise, learn to think concisely, shortly, clearly, right to the point. Not long, blabby words, right to the point. And this will help teach you that too. And you can help each other, if you're quite permissible, help each other with this if you want, exchange them. You don't just copy someone else's in their own words. If a thought is good and applies to you, you may take their thought if you want. Thoughts belong to anyone, but do write it down in your own language, in your own words. Is this clear so far? No problem so far? The main thing, once you get it down, is to use it. You have an argument with someone during the day, maybe not an outward argument, but a mental argument with someone. You go back to this list and find out where you made your mistake where you were asleep instead of being conscious. This will help you. See how valuable this is? You look down that list, and one of those will be just where you went wrong. And eventually, you'll have it up here and sit it on that piece of paper. And you'll catch it, as he said. This is what we're after. To catch the anger, to dissolve it before it has a chance to take us over. Isn't this what it's all about? Okay, I'm going to read 10 examples, and it will take a little time, but it's well worthwhile, especially for those of you listening to this tape, to get these down, both as examples and as ones you can use for yourself. But this is to give you the idea of what you're going to do. And I'm going to ask you, some of you, excuse me, to tell us what you've written between now and the next meeting, even if it's just one of them, just to discuss it a little bit, not to put you on the spot. You put yourself on the spot to make this as efficient program as you can. Okay? Write the the numeral 1 after, on the left side of your page, please, under the heading of checklist for self-teaching. All of these will end in a question mark. We're questioning our behavior, our reactions, our thoughts. All of them must end with a question mark. Okay? 1. Where did I react mechanically instead of consciously? Where did I react mechanically instead of consciously? 2. Did I try to think outside of myself today? Question mark. Did I try to think outside of myself today? 3. Could I have practiced more inner honesty? Could I have practiced more inner honesty? 4. At any time did I feel wronged or cheated? At any time did I feel wronged or cheated? 5. Did an event fall on anger instead of understanding? Question mark. Did an event fall on anger instead of understanding? 6. Where did I fall under the spell of social propaganda? Where did I fall under the spell of social propaganda? Not 7. Did I practice instant recovery when making a mistake? Did I practice instant recovery when making a mistake? 8 times important. Where did I pretend or bluff? Question mark. Where did I pretend or bluff? Why did I permit myself to feel guilty or intimidated? Why did I permit myself to feel guilty or intimidated? 10. What unconscious hostility did I bring to the surface? If I'm working on myself and I see hostility, I have brought it to the surface instead of lying to myself about it. 10. What unconscious hostility did I bring to the surface? 2 more. Did I fear others would see through me? Did I fear others would see through me? Was I ashamed of past cruel behavior? 12. Was I ashamed of past cruel behavior? Any problems with it at all? Larry?
Number 2 isn't clear in my head.
You mean the idea or the sentence? Did I...
The idea.
All right. We'll discuss it. Right. 2. Did I try to think outside of myself today? All right. What does it mean to think inside of myself? We spent 45 minutes this morning discussing it. thinking from an idea about me and what I want and what I'm going to get from the world and how you should behave toward me. This is thinking inside myself, is it not? There is a self there. When I learn what it means to drop thought, to lose this world I'm hanging on to because I'm afraid when I lose this world, I begin to think outside of myself because I've seen the trick that I've played on myself all my life of thinking that I have to protect my world, which is non-existent. And to protect my world, I have to destroy his world. Right? He summarized that earlier. To think outside of myself means to, on the level of thought, to use my mind to hoe the orange grove out there and to do my business down at the office or factory, where it may be, use my mind properly there without the mistake of bringing wrong thought into it and saying, I'm going to get that promotion or I'm going to get that raise. If I don't get that raise, I'm going to cause all kind of trouble, and I don't care who I cause trouble to. I want more dough. Go ahead and destroy the world in your sickness and destroy yourself. Goodbye. I'm not going to have anything to do with it. Go ahead. Destroy yourself and destroy the world in your insanity. Leave me out. Thinking outside of yourself now. Yes.
I think I need to give a little more dictate on that. Did I try to think outside of myself today?
Yes.
Did I try to think outside of myself?
Okay.
All right, in other words, instead of bringing all of my feelings and this me into everything, and watching to see that I'm treated properly and so forth, okay? Instead of doing that, I am just being part of what's happening. Is that the idea?
Yes. Without referring it.
I'm experiencing what's happening.
Yes. Without self-reference. Does that help? Without self-reference? Without bringing me into it? And if I'm not there, is anything happening to me? Now look, is anything happening to me? Not really. Not really. I'm here physically and it looks like it. You may think that I'm suppressing my anger or something, but if I'm really not, I know better. I know better. Nothing is happening to me because I'm not there. Not anymore. I get tired of being there.
You're externally considered.
Pardon?
You're externally considered.
Sure, you can call it that. That's fine. As part of my work, look, the old saying, try to put yourself in the other person's place. That's an elementary rule of right thinking. If I'm putting myself in your place, I will eventually break down the illusion that you and I are separate entities. See? Then, am I ever going to take advantage of you? Am I ever going to try to cheat you, lie to you, get what I want from you? Am I going to destroy you? No, because then it is one world, and if I destroy him, I destroy me by that very same heat. The heat, I'm going to get more dough. I'm burning, huh? If I see that there's no me and no he, there's no burning. This burning exists on the level of opposites of competition, protecting or promoting. Now do you see what a conscience is? Yeah? That's what a conscience is, and nothing else. You can't have a conscience as long as you're ambitious to get what you want. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, the idea. This I want an explanation. Number 10.
Number 10.
What unconscious hostility did I bring to the surface? Or something like that.
Yeah. What unconscious hostility do I bring to the surface? I explained it a little bit. I'm in relationship with you. I'm talking with you. We're discussing something. And you say something, deny me something that I want, or you're going to leave me. If I see the hostility, I am beginning to see the idea I have. You had better not leave me after I've given you 20 years of my best years of my life, and you're going to leave me. I'm seeing my hostility. Then what do I have to do? I have to drop my hostility, which means dropping I. Because I and hostility are the same thing. But I don't want to give up either one of them, because they're both working together to keep my illusion in place that I am indeed a separate human being. See? See how everything is against me. I don't want to give it up. If I could die on the spot, psychologically, I would see it. I would die. The hostility would die. And what you did would have no concern. I'd have no concern for what you do at all, because I'm not using you to keep me in place. Do what you want. Do what you want. Come or go. Right? Yes.
Could you talk a little bit, I think number 7 might not be clear to some of the ones who didn't sit in on the session concerning instant recovery. Could you explain number 7? Did I practice instant recovery when making a mistake?
Yes. I'll read it back once more for the sake of the tape. Number 7 being, did I practice instant recovery when making a mistake? This, what did we call it? Checklist for self-teaching. This will help us to make instant recovery. You may look at this 5 hours or 5 days after you have made the mistake. And what is a mistake? What is a mistake? A mistake is going against my own real nature. Anything at all. Anything that damages me is a mistake. Anything at all. All right. As I use this list, we'll take it from that viewpoint. As I use this list, 5 hours later, I saw how I blabbed endlessly in an effort to prove how much I knew to anybody, and my poor wife or husband, what they get. Whew. And they've got their own defenses. They look pretending they're listening and they're thinking about something else. But I finally see what a big, dumb blabbermouth I am. All right? I've checked the list, and number 98 on the list says, was I a blabbermouth today? Well, not me, of course. But then I get a little more honest, because another one said, were you honest today? It all works together, see? One thing helps another. And I begin to see what a blabbermouth I am. So the next time I want to tell my wife about the big deal I made today, or how I told the boss off, or how excited I am about moving to South America or wherever, I begin to see that it's a fact that I'm a blabbermouth, that I use everybody to try to prove that I'm doing important and exciting things, and trying to keep the thought for myself that it's all a big show. It has no meaning at all. I move it a little closer to the time that I actually do it. And the closer I bring it, the closer my recovery comes, because if I blab to my wife or husband about it, I'll blab to my neighbor if I get a half a chance. If I'm working on myself and I blab to one person, I can catch it when I start to blab to the next one, and I say, oh, I did indeed blab to my wife for an hour about that project. I'm bringing it closer to the time when I made the mistake. Then, remember what we said? We get on the other side of it and stop it before it happens. I feel the impulse rising to blab to you about something. I feel the impulse. I'm watching. Now I'm watching. I say no. I drop it, and it puts a strain on me. Huh? I want to blab. If I don't blab, I'll die. Don't blab and die. How about that, Leland?
Very concise.
But you'll do it again. You'll do it for days and weeks, but you're gradually bringing it up to the point where you can stop it before the devil slips in the door and he's got you. We're trying to stop it before it happens. That is instant recovery, instead of carrying it on and on and on. Instant cat.
When do you draw the line between, how do you distinguish between blabbing and practical discussion?
If I can watch myself, if I can do it, if I can watch myself while I'm blabbing, I will see nervousness, I I will see compulsion. And if you tell me that I'm blabbing, I will see how much I hate you. Look. Look. Yeah. Look. When I can take blab or leave blab, I'm not a blabbermouth. It's when I have to do it because there's something in me that has to prove how great I am. Or I'm trying to con you into something.
Part of the recognition, or part of the recognition,
Recognition is a good word.
being recognized as what you know or
Yeah.
what you think you know.
Getting attention. Look. When I am free of blabbermouthery, and you tell me to stop blabbing if I'm talking, and you even say it in the wrong way, and I know, now listen, I know I'm not blabbing because I'm talking consciously, I will stop talking simply because you asked me to, without any, you call me a blabbermouth? I know I'm not a blabbermouth. Because I know that once I was a blabbermouth and I worked for 5 years to stop that one thing, thank God, now go on to the other 100. They'll all tie together, of course. Because blabbermouthery is tied with mental blabbermouthery, right? So one thing helps another. Remember we said you should be able to walk in and out of a situation as you wish. If you walk into a situation and can't walk out because you're afraid, you're trapped. Walk in and out. And if you walk consciously into the situation, you won't walk into it afraid, and then you can walk out. I'm afraid to leave a situation because I walked into it in my sleep, which means I wanted something from you in that situation. I wanted your money, I wanted your flattery, I wanted your advice. I won't take your advice. Instant recovery requires conscious shocks at the moment I see what I am doing wrong, whether it's blabbing, whether it's scheming, whether it's trying to impress you, whether it's trying to give myself a comfort for the future. How about that for a topic of discussion? I'm trying to build up certain things, psychological, social, physical, political, whatever, in order to ensure my future, which will do nothing but keep me afraid. Because there's something in me that knows I don't control what happens. But I want to try because it's the only thing I know to do. We know better. We know that we don't have to control anything. I have to be sane. I don't have to control anything. I have to do certain things. I have to drive from here to there. I have to work for a living. I have to do certain things. Psychologically, I don't have anything to get, do I? You treat me any way you want. Husband, wife, friend, world, society. Besides, are you aware, by the way, that it's a mad world? Do you know that? Huh? And you're asking for something from that? What can you get from a mad world? The logic is clear, isn't it? You know that you can work on these things, work on this. And you know that you can begin to sense that you are changing, and sense in the right way now, in the right way, sense and feel that you are getting really right. Because you're seeing the dissolving of self-conflict, of tension, of wanting, of hoping that that man and that woman and that society, hoping that they'll treat you a certain way, which is pain, when I want you to behave a certain way toward me, I'm in pain, I'm in fear. I don't want to be afraid anymore. I'm not going to be afraid anymore. Therefore, I'm not going to ask for a thing from you. See? Nothing. Take it. Goodbye. Not hostility, but energy. 'Cause I want out. See? Now you're on fire in the right way. Before we were on fire with hostility and violence, weren't we? Huh? Now we're on fire in the right way. All this energy has been changed over to waking us up. And I have an opportunity to say, I'm going to get out of this anytime anything happens, the smallest of things. For example, when grocery prices go up, I have my choice of resenting the society, which, by the way, I am a part of and contributed to. Unless I'm beginning to wake up, then I'm not a part of it anymore. Not in vanity, because I know I'm not. I know I'm not doing that anymore. Then I don't resent anything. Do you resent sick people? We talk a good deal about people being cruel, violent, which they are, which we are, all right? Now switch it over and simply seeing these cruel people as being pathetic human beings who know not what they do. Think of someone, do it right now if you will, please. Think of someone you know who is cruel, unkind, thoughtless, anybody, a relative, a friend, anybody. Don't you know that you're thinking of a pathetic human being? Do you know that? Huh? Huh? A pathetic human being. And you're going to make trouble for him or her? You have no idea the trouble they are in already by being who they are, by being what they are. And you want revenge on that person for what they did to you? Huh? You want revenge on them?
The religious term for the state that you're talking about is simply purity.
Okay?
And this is
He said the religious, truly religious state was purity. Innocence? How about innocence? Not that I am innocent, but there is innocence. See the difference? Huh? See how the word I gets us in all kind of trouble? Certainly there's innocence. Because there is God. Not your God and her God. But one thing. Truth. Capital T.
How about number 11, Werner? I think that applies to me.
Number 11, one says applies to him. Okay. It applies to all of us. All right. Number 11 reads, did I fear others would see through me? Why don't you let them? Ah, see? See? Now do you know what resistance is? Do you know what fear is? Do you know what playing the game is? Do you know what compromise is? If I play the game, then you won't see through me. I play the game of pretending to love you because I'm afraid and I'm alone and I want someone to, quote, love me in return. All the time I'm afraid we're both afraid we'll see through each other's game. Why don't we see through the game? Then I have to run the risk. I have to, it's incredible. Look, I have to run the risk of you leaving me, not liking me anymore. Risk. This is the beginning of my sanity, of my freedom, to lose you if necessary, because I'm not going to live on those terms anymore with myself, therefore not with you. Right? So I have to. Look, if I see through me, I will get less and less concerned whether you see through me, because I'm not playing the role anymore. I see the damage of playing whatever my little clever role is, and boy, can they be subtle. You may see through the role of someone else, but you try seeing through some of your own and see what a shock that is. The shock of being the quiet type of person. I'm not a blabbermouth. He was talking about blabbermouthery. Thank heavens I'm not a blabbermouth. I'm the quiet type. You were the quiet, neurotic type.
Better be a blabbermouth.
Number 7.
Number 7.
Did I practice instant recovery when making a mistake? It's real easy to identify with the mistakes made 5, 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
Instant recovery is quite a demand, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
We like to identify with what was done from the time we can remember.
All right, Larry?
I believe in instant recovery, Bob, as being something that helps me eradicate that long past that was ingrained in my memory. If I can recover at this moment, an instant recovery from a mistake, then the ones from way past can begin to drop away. Instead of me having in the far distant memory, if I'm carrying today, they're still with me today if I call them a mistake. If I can see the goof I'm making right now and recover from that goof, then the ones of the past that I carry falsely at the present will begin to drop away also.
Do you understand that something has to die in us in order to make instant recovery? No? No? All right. I make a foolish mistake of any kind. Say something, do something. I'm ashamed, embarrassed, right? Remember we said that shame and embarrassment is part of the I process? It keeps me going. Therefore, I treasure my can you imagine such a strange thing? I actually treasure my shame. Instant recovery requires me to drop my shame, which is dropping a part of me. See how tricky this thing is? And there's powerful emotion in that's going to resist me making this instant recovery of dropping it. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to practice it. I'm going to do it all the way home from the meetings and so on.
Can I ask about 5?
Yes, 5.
Did an event fall on anger instead of understanding?
Right.
Is that the reactive pattern of hostility and anger and so forth?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the instant reaction rather than is that what that is?
Yeah. If I have an event and it falls on my anger, obviously it did not fall on my understanding. If it fell on my understanding, there would not be anger there, would there? It fell on one or the other. If it fell on anger, it's because I'm still asleep. I still have an I that wants to get mad. I love my anger. It's a beautiful thing. I've been using it all my life. I don't want to give it up. So I'm questioning where it fell. And that will remind me the next time this happens, tomorrow when the boss looks at me that way, that I can let it fall on my understanding instead of my anger, which I'm trying to do. This is the purpose of this, one purpose. To help remind me of how I could have behaved instead of that stupid mechanical way that I did behave. That self-destructive way. Yes, and then...
Would that also, that word anger could also be insecurity?
Sure. Yes. Yes. Don't you see these are all synonyms? Anger, hostility, same thing. But believe it or not, some people find it hard to believe that anger and hatred are tied in with each other. Fear and anger are tied in with each other. Some people just don't see it. They sit here and say they don't connect. They're the same thing in a different form. The same gang of thieves, only this time you happen to see the thief named anger instead of fear. Next time you'll see fear instead of anger. Because this is what has expressed itself in my face for the moment. I blow up at this man. I blow up in anger. 10 minutes later, I'm in fear because he's going to call the cop. Or he's bigger than I am.
What about delayed anger? If you can come when there's an event and you don't get angry right at that precise moment.
Yeah.
But a few minutes later, would that be adding something?
Yeah, because it's simply, she talked about delayed anger. Building it up, hoping maybe for a better opportunity where you can blow up without getting blowed up at back, huh? What is that? It is simply the running of mechanical and unconscious anger and nothing else, which you have refused to look at and say, no more.